Welcome, everyone, to the APAC, Hamina Clip launch. We're not going to call this a new product launch today because we did launch it last week, but we thought we would do a bit of a recap of the content that we went through at the other launch that was hosted by the Finland team and UC. And we also brought on some of our folks in the APAC region that have actually had early access to the Clip hardware and have actually been testing it for us. And so you can sort of hear from them as well. And hopefully, you can also use this as a bit of a Q&A if you've got any questions about the hardware or maybe even the software and some of the things that we've got sort of coming out pretty soon. So we'll kick things off and we'll keep things moving along at a pretty brisk pace because we've got a fair bit of content to get through. So, look, I just, and these are UC slides, but I did think, it is very much, it's great when people join, from the community or customers of ours or people that, maybe using other tools that are sort of looking at Hamina, or maybe they've not used tools before, and they're sort of, they're maybe looking at our stuff as well. So, we wouldn't be here without you guys. It's really great to sort of see a lot of support, and particularly when we did launch the clip, and it was 3 a.m. Here in the Gold Coast where I am. It was very, very late, but just seeing LinkedIn sort of blow up with a lot of people posting, screenshots of the clip and stuff like that, that was really, really cool. So we've had, a lot of excitement, a lot of people, sort of asking us a lot of questions about it. So that's sort of been really great to sort of see. Now, I will also do a bit of a shout out to the Hamina team because, pretty much everyone, that's on this screenshot here has been involved in some way, shape, or form with Clip, and whether it's been from, the hardware side, whether it's been from the software side, whether it's been from, logistics and, what does the packaging look like, all sorts of things. Everyone has sort of been involved in some facet. So, big shout out to the Hamina team. It's been pretty awesome to see, such a high level of engagement from, what I think would be like a relatively small team for, the sort of hardware product that we're bringing to the market. And just another shout out to our beta testers. Now, I don't know if I'd call myself a beta tester. I know the other guys on this screen, and in particular, Sleepy UC definitely were out doing a lot of testing with the Clip hardware and giving us a lot of really fantastic feedback. That's been great, and it's been really good to be able to basically position that directly with the developers that either work, directly on the on-site software implementation, or even like hardware characteristics that sort of filters back into the firmware team and stuff like that as well. So it's been really good to get that direct sort of feedback, and and hopefully the guys that are on the screen here, and you'll hear from them in due time, can sort of provide you a bit of insight as to what that process has been like and what their experiences have been with the clip, and maybe that will sort of align with what you're looking for out of the hardware platform. So, quick recap on our timeline. So, if you don't know much about Hamina, I mean we've been around since 2021. In 2022, we launched the Hamina Network Planner. So that's our browser-based design tool. In 2023, we launched the Hamina Onsite, which is our iOS and macOS application that paired with the Osmium Nomad. So that was only a year later. In 2024, we launched Hamina Live, and that was sort of a more, advanced API-driven integration with a lot of the leading Wi-Fi vendor platforms. And then in 2025, there was a big focus on, not only other updates, across the board, with Network Planner and Hamina Onsite, but also on the spectrum analysis front. So we brought spectrum analysis and spectrum recording, into the tool. So, that pairs with the Osmium Nomad. That recording is done with Onsite, and then you can view the results in Hamina Network Planner. And so we integrate with a couple of different spectrum analysis hardware units now as well, namely the NetAlloy NXT and the Osmium Lucid as well. So high level stats, we've got, a few thousand customers at Hamina in, almost 100 countries. It's great to see someone on the chat already saying, hi from India. So that's, really, really great to see. 50 out of the Fortune 500 have chosen Hamina. They're using Hamina, daily. We've got, and this is a very UC thing. Hamina's customers are the happiest, and Hamina's customers are the most have the most fun. Now that is obviously a very subjective thing, but we do think that they're pretty happy with the product, and we think that it's good platform, good value for money. And I think from the fun thing, I don't know, we try to do serious products, but we also try not to take ourselves too seriously, as you'll probably see throughout the session today. All right. So now, starting today, well, really starting last week, we basically have started to offer two different Wi-Fi site survey devices. So, traditionally we've had the Ossium Nomad, and we paired with Ossium, a few years back for that, that four radio, traditional site survey product that a lot of people are using, and particularly, some of the guests that are on the session today, and as of last week, we've also launched a secondary Wi-Fi site survey device, which we're calling the Hamina Clip. So let's get into, maybe what the Hamina Clip sort of brings to the market, like what its differences are to something like the Ossium Nomad, and hopefully that can sort of help people sort of understand, maybe what solution may be right for them, in particular scenarios. So what I might do here is, we talk about, the clip being this compact, enterprise grade, Wi-Fi device. If I just sort of hold up, and this is a prototype unit, but it is pretty much, the finished product. I just hold that up to the screen there. You can see, from a size perspective, it is actually quite small, a very, very small package, which is quite nice. And I think the feedback that we've had from a lot of that is that, despite that small size, it does pack a bit of a punch. It is very fast for Wi-Fi site surveys in a variety of different environments, and we'll hear about that in a little bit. And so it can be used for Wi-Fi troubleshooting. You can do surveys, so site surveys and Wi-Fi testing, and it supports Wi-Fi 7. We've got Wi-Fi 8 in there before or after 7 as well, but it will support Wi-Fi 8 as well as 654, etc., as well, due to the backwards compatibility. So it does have two tri-band radios in there, and so it will support the 6 gigahertz spectrum, which for our friends in India has just sort of become a reality again, as well as 2.4 and 5 as well. So just to have a bit of a look at the hardware side of things. So at the very top of the unit, you've got a power button. You've got a single USB-C data and charging port at the top there, as well as a charge and a power light as well. And then you've got the antennas on the side there too. I particularly like the little etched sort of Hamina or embossed Hamina logo on the sides there as well, on the little glossy sides. And so, we think it looks like a cool little unit as well. So from a size perspective, so to give you an idea, I mean, I think when most people see this screenshot, their eyes just sort of initially gravitate to the on-site screen, but then you sort of look down, you've got this little, this Hamina Clip, and like we've mentioned, it because of the name Clip, it does have this little sort of clip on the back, so it can clip to a belt, it can clip to a pocket, you can clip it to a myriad of different sort of surfaces on the body or maybe on a backpack, and away you go. So again, just some size comparisons there. So, again, belt clip, if you've got like a molly strap type system, maybe like on a backpack, perfect for that as well. And, you've also got the pocket size there too. Now, one of the things that you might start to notice with some of these screenshots is we don't have a cable connected to any of the devices as well. And so we'll sort of get to it in a little bit. So there's Sleepy UC doing some site surveys in like a warehouse type environment. And you can see, in this particular screenshot, we can have it wide if we want. So, in particular instances where maybe, the RF is busy, or maybe in environments where, you want to charge the device as well as, doing your survey, you can do that as well. And he's there with Rolf, who's one of our on-site developers. And so he's got the Nomad, while Yusi's got the Clip there as well. And so, really good for, we've been doing a lot of comparisons of the two as well, particularly because one's got the 2 radios versus one's got the 4 radios as well. So again, on the size, so you can just pack it in, in your pocket, in your backpack. It doesn't become an issue. Whereas, I know with certain other, maybe site survey devices, the size may become an issue, or the weight may become an issue, or the battery may get certain scrutiny depending on certain countries that you're going in and out of. Because you do want to have the battery below a certain milliamp hour rating. At least with the clip, it's so small that it's not really going to register on that side at all. And so, like I was alluding to before, rather than having a traditional site survey tool where the clip is plugged into the survey host device like an iPhone or an iPad or a MacBook, the clip is wireless, so it can be used as entirely as a wireless hardware device, and so you don't need a cable to plug it in when you're connecting it to your phone or your tablet. Now, the way that we've done the pairing with the clip, it doesn't sort of go through the traditional, Bluetooth pairing function, where you might have to, put a PIN code in, or you've got to go into your Bluetooth settings or anything like that. You effectively you switch on the clip, so you press the power button, you put the clip next to the survey device, so whether it's a tablet like an iPad or an iPhone, and then the on-site app will pick up the clip and it will automatically sync it to that version of OnSite, and then away you go. Now, I did mention you can use the cable as well. So, if you've got a particularly busy RF environment, or maybe, from a battery perspective, you can plug it in if you want. But, for the most part, you'll be able to survey entirely wireless. So we have tested the clip in a variety of different environments, and we'll hear in a minute from Chris, who'll sort of take us through maybe a couple of different scenarios. But what we've done is we've really looked at optimizing the scan speed, because we're instead of using four radios, with the Nomad, we're using two radios with four antennas with the clip, and so we've sort of optimized the scan speed so you can effectively survey in any environment. And in extreme environments, where maybe like large public venues, or maybe environments where there is a lot of RF activity, where there's a lot of channel activity happening, you've got this ability to plug the cable in and survey away as well. And so we're still working on sort of optimizing the software experience there, but currently the on-site app will actually warn the user, saying like, hey, it's a busy environment, maybe best to plug a cable in and continue surveying from there. All right. I might just pause for a second, and we'll hear from Chris in a minute. But I do see that there is a bunch of stuff happening in the chat, which is great. We will definitely get to those towards the end. So if people do have questions, please put them in the chat or put them in the Q&A, and we'll do our best to sort of get to them towards the end of the session. But next, I just sort of want to introduce Chris Denham. So Chris has been, doing some beta testing with the clip for us. He's a technical consultant based out of Brisbane, Australia. And so, Chris, maybe say hi to everyone, let them know what you do, and yeah, would love to hear your thoughts on the clip.
Cool, thanks, Grant. As Grant mentioned, I'm based in Brisbane, do a lot of stuff with Wi-Fi in my day job. I probably sit in the HP networking world more than anything else. Play around with ClearPass and Central NAC mostly, and then we get to do a few Wi-Fi site surveys and packet captures and analysis and that sort of stuff. So, UC and the team were kind enough to send one of these guys to a few of us out here to test. And I think probably the thing that stood out to me the most was just the similar experience to using AirPods for the first time. Really, you kind of just forget that the device is there because there's no cable attached to it. So, it's almost like the network. If no one notices it, it's a good thing. So that's similar to that. So just makes you feel like you're not wearing a survey device and just feel like you're going for a walk, really.
Yeah, awesome. And so I guess what environments have you sort of been, using the clip in, during your testing?
Um, first thing I did when I got it and when the Bluetooth functionality was available was just the house with the phone, which was surprisingly quick. And then typical open office space, coveted office, auditorium space as well, with both the phone and the iPad. One of the other things that was great without cables is, rightly or wrongly, I like to rotate the device to keep the map straight. And usually after about every 10 minutes, you kind of got to untangle yourself. So not having to do that was amazing. Just means you can kind of concentrate on where you're walking and where you're clicking on the map.
Yeah, awesome. And yeah, I guess, like, so it sounds like the advantage has sort of been like the wireless function, more so than anything else. But have you noticed anything different to using the clip, maybe to compared, because you've used like a Nomad in the past, right? Like, have there been much of a difference from your perspective?
Other than perhaps the point survey taking slightly longer, I haven't noticed any other material difference really at all. It's you're really in the app for 95% of the time, and from that perspective, no, nothing was different at all. I will say I am definitely looking forward to trying the device out with AirTool Pi on my iPhone once that's all ready to go, just as a mobile packet capture device.
Yeah, I think that'll be a nice little addition, when we sort of get there as well. Yeah, awesome. Yeah, any last words, Chris, from your side?
Buy one.
We'll give you that brown bag of paper money of unmarked bills at the end of the webinar. Thank you. Thank you for that. All right, cool. Okay. All right. So let's look. We'll keep focusing on the clip for now. So look, from a like, I guess from a build quality perspective, this is something that we have had a lot of people sort of initially come back from, as well. And I know, like, even when I initially got like a prototype unit, like this sort of the feel of the device has been quite premium. So the build quality has been really quite nice, and we've really sort of tried to, especially sort of think of, you know typically when you get like with the site survey device, there's often like this sort of hesitation to you want to try and treat them quite nicely, although in my experience I have seen some pretty beaten up survey equipment before. But the nice thing with the clip is it is IP64 rated, and I know we were getting a lot of feedback from some of the team that were working directly on the hardware side of it, with drop tests and, spill tests and, dust ingress and things like that. And, some of the results that we're getting back was really, pretty incredible. And, we kept sort of trying to push to get this nice IP64 rating, which is pretty nice, and pretty cool. You don't often see that with a lot of site survey hardware as well. So, we've done a lot of drop testing, and some of the drop testing, I think UC had actually posted, who's the Hamina CEO, if anyone's not aware. He did post on LinkedIn, I think, some of the footage of the drop test, as well, or maybe Parsi, who was sort of leading the hardware side, did. So, I'd encourage people to sort of seek that out, and sort of to take a look. But doing hot and cold testing, lots of RF testing, which was done by Jerry, who's on the Hamina team in the US. Lots of warehouses, lots of hotels, lots of different stores, offices, and arenas were all sort of surveyed, and you sort of saw some of the arena and the warehouse stuff in some of the earlier images were done sort of, even just in-house with the Hamina team. So we've been extensively, taking any opportunity we can along the way for a little while now to survey with the clip, and just to make sure that we can sort of try and, make it as good and as best as we possibly can. The other thing that we found is, and this is, maybe something that people might be thinking, well, it's wireless, and so it's going to have to use like quite a lot of battery to be able to sort of stream that data back to the host survey device, but we've actually got some pretty incredible battery life out of the Clip. And the main reason for that is because it's only got the two radios in there. So it's not got the traditional four radios, so it's not having to utilize as much battery as well, which has been quite nice. Like I mentioned before, if you are running low on battery, you can plug it in and you can charge it while you're surveying. And so, similar situation to the Nomad. If you've got like a USB-C power delivery uh, power bank, you could just have that in your back pocket, have that plugged into the Clip, and still able to site survey, without too much issue. Or like in Chris's case, you could use it for troubleshooting or something like that. And again, because of the size, it doesn't necessarily have to be visible. So it could just be in a backpack. It could be in like a handbag or something like that as you're walking through an environment doing a packet capture or something like that as well. And you get all the feedback on the host device, so you don't need to have the cable plugged in during that time. Now, I know we said earlier that we think the Clip's got a cool factor. I mean, I think people that maybe purchase the device will be the ultimate judges of that. But it does run very, very cool. So we have over-engineered the device to run very, very cool. And so maybe it's not entirely obvious from the screenshots, but there is actually no fan within the unit itself. So it is passively cooled as well. So it's got a nice little plastic grill on the front there, but heat dissipation to assist with heat dissipation and stuff like that, while still maintaining that IP64 rating. All right, so quick summary of what we've covered sort of so far. So it is tri-band. So it will be able to survey and troubleshoot Wi-Fi in 2.4, 5, and 6 gigahertz. It'll work with Wi-Fi 7. So there was someone earlier sort of asking about Wi-Fi 7 site surveys. So it will support Wi-Fi 7. It will also support Wi-Fi 8 because Wi-Fi 8 is just going to be another addition. So there's no additional spectrum that's going in there. And then we've also got it's got the four omnidirectional antennas, two radios with the optimized sort of scan speed as well. All right, so we'll jump over to Charles Clare next. And in a similar fashion, it would be great to sort of hear, from Charles, again, one of our other sort of, I guess, hardware beta testers, for the Clip, what he's got to say and what his sort of findings were. So maybe Charles, do you want to sort of introduce yourself and what you do, and we'll go from there. Oh, you're on mute.
Sorry about that. Yeah, thanks, Grant. I've been sort of in the Wi-Fi industry for a long time, sort of starting in 1998. But before that, I used to do a lot of hardware design. So I've been doing, because I'm an electronic engineer from training, but then moved into the Wi-Fi networking area. So this sort of hardware, software has been really interesting for me because I've always loved RF. So it was really great to be able to get this device because I've always loved Wi-Fi devices, and I sort of play with every Wi-Fi device that comes onto the market. But this device was super impressive when I got it out of the box. It just felt so light, and I'm just so used to such big devices that this thing was just so small and so easy to carry. But I wanted to get it out and try it out in some venues, etc. But because we were sort of under an NDA and we couldn't tell anybody about it, you sort of had to do it that sort of in ninja form and have it hidden. But being wireless, it was the perfect device. So the first place I went off to was Bunnings. In Australia, we have a lot of Bunnings, and they have a really good Wi-Fi network. They run a MIST system, and they run a system that can do location tracking. So I took it in there, had it under my shirt, did a full survey of the place, and it was very, very easy. No one noticed what I was doing, and it was really good to be able to come back and then analyze the data and see what it picked up and how it worked. And it was just such a simple device to use, just using my phone. And then when I got all the data, it was just like any other device that I've been using for Wi-Fi surveys for the last probably 5 years. All the data was there, and I could see all this, co-channel interference, the secondary coverage, all those sorts of things. But what I really wanted to do was I was worried that having only two channels, it wasn't collecting all the data. So I did some surveys in some other areas where I could do a Nomad survey, which had the four radios, and a Clip survey, which had the two radios. And I was pleasantly surprised at how really good the scanning algorithm is for this device. I couldn't tell the difference in just an office type area and even in warehouse type areas, the quality of the data that was coming in because of the way they've optimized the scanning. You didn't really need the four radios. And one of the other really good things that I enjoy about on-site is it has an ability to just give you information about what's in the air at the time as you're walking around. So you can just go into a place, bring up the analysis tool, and you can see what channels are open. Really good when you go to a place for the first time and you just want a quick 2-second view of what their Wi-Fi looks at so that you can talk intelligently to the customer about what their actual network is. So it's really a tool that you can do the survey with, but also do just real-time analysis, see what the signal strength is at a location. Do they have secondary coverage? Is there a busy Wi-Fi network, and those sorts of things?
Yeah, no, that's really good to hear. And I guess maybe just for anyone outside of Australia, so Bunnings is like a home hardware chain, but basically like a big warehouse, right? We usually refer to it as like a big green shed. But those networks are often they are tri-band, right? So they're 2.45 and 6 gigahertz, right, Charles?
Yes, correct. In this case,
Yeah,
it was dry band, and it did
yeah.
take me about an hour and a bit to walk it. I've never actually been in a Bunnings and walked up every aisle, but but, but I had to do it for
That's
this.
me every Saturday morning. But yeah, you know.
But I certainly got my 10,000 steps in. So if for my daily exercise, I can go and survey. That maybe this needs a little thing in it that tells you how far you've walked. But I suppose it can do that from the distance data.
Yeah, you do get the distance data in the yeah back in the browser side, but yeah, maybe yeah, I would personally love to see like some achievements for that type of stuff. You know, you do a survey for 5 kilometers and you get a little badge,
Yeah.
little virtual badge of honor. That would be cool.
But having no
Um,
cable was is the most beautiful thing, because I too want to rotate the phone, but in Hamina you actually have the ability to just rotate the screen. But you do sometimes get your cable caught on chairs when I'm surveying exam venues where there's lots and lots of chairs and you're going up and down rows. I so often get my cable caught round a chair and it rips it out and the survey stops. And I tried it with this, and you don't you feel like you're walking just without any equipment. It's a really different feeling when you're doing a survey.
yeah, no, that's nice. And I guess just to pick on that like electrical engineering background, like from a hardware side, like what did you think of the hardware? Because I was pretty impressed with the feel of the device and the solidness of the unit in hands. But what did you think?
Yeah, I've been super impressed. It's the actual clip itself is super durable. I've taken it on and off. I've clipped it on backpacks, back of my pants, belts, pockets, in pockets. Tried it at all different locations on my body. The clip just works, and it's you can really see the engineering that's gone into this. It's you can see that every little part of the clip has been thought about. The way that it bends, the way that the corners have been cut, the way that the strength has been put in it, all those sorts of things, and even just the quality of the device, having the antennas away from the device so that they don't pick up so they away from your body as much as possible, because we're all made of water and we can actually attenuate the Wi-Fi, so we want to try and keep it away. And being so light means that it's not pulling your pants down. It's not. You can put it on your shoulder. I've even put it on my lanyard, and it's worked really well.
Yeah, no, yeah, absolutely. Um, no, that's really cool. Yeah, really cool to hear. I personally was pretty impressed, on the hardware side, and I know that, there was a bunch of iterations on all sorts of different components, and the clip was actually one of them as well. It was, like how, you know, how much I guess downward pressure is too much versus not enough. And you also, we wanted to have a clip that was, someone's asking what the back of it looks like. I'll just cover up the serial number on that one, but yeah, you can sort of see there. Maybe people can see that, but yeah, even just having the right amount of downforce, and also like having a nice, like anodized black clip that sort of fits in with the rest of the unit was, was very, really important to us as well.
One of the really nice things also is that it's not a closed ecosystem, in that you can connect it up with some third-party vendors. So at the moment, I've been playing with Adrian software, which is the Wi-Fi Explorer Pi on the phone, and again, you can plug it in, and you can use that software to capture data, which is really handy. So because when you go out, you don't know what device to take, and normally you take your phone and you think, oh, do I want to take that? Do I want to take that? Do I want to take that? But at least if you take this, it's small. You can get 99% of the stuff you need, and if it's a bigger job, you'll take other stuff as well. But now it's really, when I go out now, it's phone, wallet, keys, and clip. So you've got all the 4 devices when you go out, because you never know when you're going to need it. You could be out in a cinema and you think, oh, that'd be interesting to see how they're doing their Wi-Fi in here, and you can just have a quick look.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I saw you like in probably CBD Melbourne post on LinkedIn, and you had your clip and you were out like, sort of war driving, so to speak.
Yeah.
All right, cool. Yeah, thanks for that, Charles. Now, what I might do next is we've been getting a bunch of questions in the Q&A, and so we'll sort of get to them. But there is a bunch that are happening in the chat as well, which I would encourage people to do. So I will just quickly go through and we'll answer them, and so then maybe people aren't worried that we're going to miss them. So one of the first questions, which we did answer, was, if the new tools will support Wi-Fi 7 surveys, which yes, they do. And that's not just the clip, but also the Nomad will also support Wi-Fi 7 site surveys. Yes, we will do a session recording. So without the on-site app, how does it connect? So you do need the on-site app if you want to do a site survey. And maybe this is a good time, since Charles just sort of indicated, you can use the clip without on-site for some of Intuitibit's tools, so such as the AirTool Pi, and there'll also be the Wi-Fi Explorer Pi tools that it will support as well. So you could just do like, I guess, general, RF analysis, like what's happening in the air. And then you'll also be able to do like a 2-channel packet capture as well, but you would need the applications for that. And then, is there a distinct use case where the Nomad is preferred over clip? In other words, is there a situation where the clip falls short compared to the Nomad? We will get to that. We've got a couple of slides that do give a bit of a comparison sort of on that, so hold tight. And John asked a pretty good question about the internal battery. What happens when you decides to give up the Ghost? Is this something user or Hamina can do, as in, is it user replaceable? So as of today, I don't believe that the battery would be user replaceable. I do know the battery type that is in it, and it's not like it's some proprietary sort of thing. But yeah, that's probably something to sort of take offline. But yeah, we have already sort of been having internal discussions about, what happens, at that sort of point as well, because, ideally what would be great would be that, you can use a clip, for, I guess, as long as the hardware will sort of, will stick around for. All right, we might keep going. And maybe one last one. So how long would the previous log data be kept online in the cloud if the on-site subscription expired? So basically, if your on-site subscription expires and your planner subscription expires, you still have access to all of the data, but it's effectively like a read-only mode. So you can still access it. You could still, look at the reports and things like that. You can still look at the data, but you can't add anything to it unless you've got an active subscription. That's all. So yeah, maybe a little bit like, any other sort of subscription sort of product. All right. So there's been a couple of questions about like, hey, well, like how do I, how do I do this site survey if I've got 2 radios and we've got all 3 bands are being utilized and things like that, but also, how are we how we're doing the RF on this. And Charles did allude to the antennas on the clip are away from the user. But let's sort of talk about that, because we have done this sort of a little bit. And so I did allude to at the start of the webinar, we did do a lot of testing just to sort of try to optimize what the scanning looks like, and also like what the measurements look like. And so what we do is we normalize the RSSI measurements so they are consistent and they represent effectively like a real client device. And so that that does also sort of talk about some of the clip hardware as well. So the measurements should behave consistently across sort of all three bands, and the intention there is it will better reflect like a real world performance. And so I think we'll jump to the next slide because we've got some other bits and pieces in there. But effectively, if you're seeing neg 65 on the clip, it's a pretty good indicator that you're going to get neg 65, from other devices that are in your environment. And so the intention there is that you will do a site survey. And so, if you're using site survey tools, that you will see that, okay, I've got green, or I've got, yellow, or I've got red, or I've got orange. And, that's indicating that, the RSSI is at a certain threshold, based on your heat mapping. And that will give you an indication of how your devices should be also seeing the environment as well. So you're not having to deal with any confusing offsets or anything like that. That's what we're trying to sort of to minimize there. So this is going to be the same whether you're doing site surveys with a clip, whether you're doing it with a Nomad, also if you're doing simulation designs in Hamina. So what you see in the site survey should be very similar to what you've got on the planning side, and also with the network analysis as well. So we're trying to have this sort of consistency between all of the different avenues that you can look at the heat maps on. Now, there was some questions earlier about, like, hey, like what if I've got a Nomad, or, in what scenario should I use a Nomad over a clip? And I guess, the way that I would look at it is, if you've already got a Nomad, you're absolutely not missing out if you don't have a clip. You can still continue to use your Nomad. Hamina is still supporting the Nomad. We are still selling the Nomad. That is absolutely no problem at all. But with the clip, we've sort of got a different offering that's got a different, I guess, set of, features and advantages. And so, sort of depending on what you're looking to do, you might want to sort of go down one path over the other. So, I guess, for the Nomad side of things, that's got, basically it's got everything, and, if you want to add the kitchen sink, like a spectrum analyzer, you can do that as well. Very classical style of site survey device. So, basically a box with a bunch of radios in it that can be used for site surveys. So because it's got those 4 radios, you can do a 4-channel simultaneous packet capture. If you were going to want to do the same on the clip, you can only do a 2-channel capture. So, for things like roaming and stuff like that, sure, the clip can be used. But, with a Nomad, you might be wanting to use that for, okay, I can capture from, the primary and the secondary radios, as well as 2 other ancillary radios as well. So that might be, that might be a little bit better. And then obviously you've got the RF spectrum view with the optional spectrum analyzer that you can add to the Nomad through its USB-A port. With the clip, and I guess this is probably the biggest difference, would be, out of the box, there is no spectrum analysis support. But when you are in like some maybe big environments that are utilizing a lot of radios and it's very, very busy, you're probably going to want to walk a little bit slower, because the 2 radios, they're going to have to scan every single channel. There was a question earlier about, can I only do like a dual band survey with the clip? That's not the case. You can do a tri-band survey with the clip, and the clip will optimize what channels it needs to scan. So it always sort of listens periodically to other channels that are not active. And if it finds that they're active, it will start to sort of scan them in a little bit more of a frequent manner, and so on and so forth. Real high level, I'm not going to go through this in exhaustive detail. So maybe if people want to take a screenshot of this, please, go right ahead. We do have plenty of this sort of information on the website, on the Hamina website as well, if you sort of want to go through that in a bit more detail. And so next we might jump over to Ed, who's based out of Thailand. So I think, Ed, it's your morning at the moment. And yeah, if you want to sort of introduce yourself to the folks on the session and yeah, share your thoughts on the clip.
Awesome. Awesome, Grant. Thanks. Right. So we are a Wi-Fi consultant and system integrator here based in Thailand, right? We help companies doing surveys, right? That's basically what we do, right? And we do troubleshooting for them as well. So having said that, we do at least one or twice site surveys every week, right? Last year, we probably done about 50 site surveys, right? So uh, yeah, my impression of the clips when I got it was like, wow, it was much smaller. Well, it was much smaller than I thought. I thought it was going to be a bit bigger, but it was much smaller. And then I tested in a hospital. Right, I happened to be in the hospital because one of my relatives is hospitalized. I was in and out of the hospital, so I thought, hey, why the Wi-Fi was so slow, right? So I just had my clip on and then just walk around, and we found out that all the hospital uh, AP was using channel 36. It was like 300 of them. So I was like, wow. So I didn't know then if they know about that, but I knew because I had the clip on. So one thing is it was very small, light, and inconspicuous. I can kind of carry it around without people knowing what I was doing, right? Like what Charles and Chris was saying. I think the ultra portability is really something that is, I think it's really the first in the market that came out, that they have the device is small, right? And I thought it's very cool. And the other thing is the ability to survey without cable. That's really the game changer, right? So yeah, I do a lot of hotel. So, like what Shao was saying, that often when we survey the hotel, we walk in and walk out of the narrow area. Sometimes the cable kind of get loose, and then the survey stop. We have to redo the whole thing again. So we tried the Bluetooth pairing. It was very fast. It was very easy. Even like the firmware upgrade was really cool. I thought, it would be more difficult, but it was like we just plug it in, and then it just say, hey, do you want to upgrade the firmware? You click on it. It was wow, it was done. So it was really nice. It was really nice. Yeah, it was
Yeah,
really
that's
great.
awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, look, yeah, look, appreciate hearing that, Ed. And yeah, I think so. CM Wireless, your company, they tend to do like a lot of hospitality. Was it mostly the hotels that you had sort of been doing some of the testing in?
Right, right. We do a lot of hotels, but nowadays we do more. We venture into like offices, companies, warehouses. We do manufacturers. We do we also did hospital, and I think we do malls as well. So we have done quite a number of survey. I think the first thing that we always do, right? One of the surveys we do is that we do the Wi-Fi audits, and we always start with doing a survey because that's how I can assess the area of what are the Wi-Fi like in the area, right? So that's why the first thing I take out is the Wi-Fi survey tools. So having this is so great. Yeah.
Yeah, nice. Okay. All right. And look, yeah, and really appreciate your sort of testing and insights to the team there, Ed. That's been really good. Really, really valuable feedback. Okay, so with all the hardware stuff out of the way, I did want to sort of go into a little bit of what's happening with the Hamina on-site app. So there's a few things that are happening there. Now, before we do, I might just pause for a couple of minutes and just try to address some of the questions that have sort of been coming in as well, because there has been a few that are sort of coming in there. Let's just make sure we're at the right point. So someone was asking about the clip connecting to the MetaGeek app. It does not work with the MetaGeek app, at least at the moment, anyway. So, if you connect it to a Windows 11 laptop, you're not going to get too far, unfortunately. Someone asked, how does the subscription work? So basically, and this isn't spoiling anything. We do have a price thing at the very end, but basically we are bundling the cost of the hardware and the software subscription for Clip together. So when you purchase it, you can log into the Hamina on-site app and you can do, your surveys or your analysis or, whatever it is you're looking to do. That's how the subscription works. It gets assigned to a user-based email, and away you go. And so you can either buy it with a 6 or a 12-month subscription. It's the same process if you were going to purchase the Nomad as well. Someone asked if it would work inside a backpack or would it run a bit hot. I know, Charles, you did answer that, but yeah, has anyone, Charles, Chris, or Ed, has anyone run the Clip in a backpack? What did you find?
I've run it in my pocket and
Yeah,
been very hot and sweaty, and it gets warm, but it doesn't get hot.
nice. Okay. All right, so it looks like we'll sign Ron up for a Clip. He's keen now that it doesn't get too hot. All right, and yeah, I think someone was talking about the point surveys, which has already been addressed. So someone asking about data sovereignty, that will be coming very soon. And then the Clip firmware does get updated via the on-site app. So you do have to have it connected, and it will detect that there's a new firmware version. It will then download it to the Clip. It will do an update. The app will instruct you on what's going on there. Okay, so let's talk about the Hamina on-site app, and we will get to the Q&A, but we'll get towards that toward the end. So I guess as of today, like people that are using Hamina on site, you've sort of got two options, right? So you've got the Wi-Fi site surveys, and you can use the Clip for that. You can use the Nomad for that, and then you've got the Wi-Fi analysis and the troubleshooting. And so again, you can use the Nomad or the Clip, depending on what hardware you've got. So we've got a few new things that are coming into on site. Now, these are not in the app today, but they are coming very, very soon. Now, I will see how we go for time. I might be able to show some of them, but some of the features that we've got. So first will be an instant Wi-Fi health check. And so, we're doing that with our friends at Orb. So if you've not, heard or seen too much from Orb, you should definitely go and check them out. So I won't go too much into that. We've also got the ability to survey without floor plans. Now, this is something that we have had people asking us about for a little bit. I guess surveying without floor plans, at least in my experience, and Hamina is really very good, particularly with the built-in AI components now, that even if you take, a photo of a badly drawn fire escape, Hamina can do a lot of the wall drawing, and it can actually give you a pretty effective design. And you could do a survey with that. But I guess in instances where there's just absolutely no floor plan, or the floor plan is really, really poor, then you'll have this sort of ability to survey without a floor plan. And then we've also got this sort of network connectivity testing and heat mapping. So let's go through it now. I'm going to go through it, in the slides, so I can sort of help maybe properly talk through this as a scenario. And like I said, we'll see how we go for time. So instant Wi-Fi health check and instant insights into the environment. So, again, partnering with our friends at Orb, now you will have this sort of status screen within the on-site app. And when I say now, coming soon, I should really say. But the nice thing about this is that you will sort of get, very similar to what you would get with Orb, where you will get effectively like an overall score of, what the environment looks like. So, this traffic light system. And the nice thing is that this little graph here, this is dynamic. So, depending on how you're walking around the environment, this will get better, this will get worse, depending on, how far you are in the environment versus how far you are out. So, again, the scenarios that, that some of our beta testers here have sort of mentioned, where the Clip is really lightweight, it's been in a pocket, it's been in a backpack, it's been clipped to a whatever. You'll be able to just sort of walk around the environment, and because of the size, it's nice and inconspicuous, and you'll sort of have the ability to sort of do these, spot checks. Now, the thing to keep in mind with all of this, I should have prefaced a couple of slides ago. all of this functionality is also going to be available if you've got a Nomad as well. So this is not stuff that is just exclusive to Clip. All of the functions and all of the features that are coming to on-site, they will be available to the Nomad as well as Clip. So you've got that real-time signal, and then you've got this network score, which is a part of, Orb's sort of system as well. So, you'll be able to sort of at a glance understand, what's my Orb score, anything, in the high 80s, 90s is really, really good. And the way that it sort of works is you've got your signal, your secondary signal, what sort of interference looks like, the airtime utilization, and what the network configuration overall looks like. And so, you can click on that and it will give you a little bit of a drill down as to, what's actually happening as well. And you'll have a little bit more sort of metrics to drill down in there as well. So connectivity wise, so you'll be able to test that during your site surveys as well. And so what you'll get is you will get your connectivity tests during your site surveys, which is done by Orb, which will give you basically an Orb heat map score as well. You'll also get your roaming locations, and then you'll also get the Orb score shown during the survey as well. So, as you're doing your survey, and maybe again, this is a nice thing because Clip is wireless. You're not worrying about the cable so much. You can focus maybe a little bit on your environment and the device. At a glance, you'll be able to sort of see those metrics happening as well. So this isn't all just happening from the Clip. So this is also happening from the device as well. And so it's not just the iPhone, it'll also be the iPad, or maybe, if you want, you can, do your survey with a MacBook as well. And so, from the iPhone or the iPad radio, you'll get the connectivity. So you will get that Orb score for the testing, the roaming, and all that kind of stuff because you are doing the Wi-Fi site survey from that side of things. And then what on-site will do is on-site will automatically assume that, well, if you're associated to the Walrus Wi-Fi or whatever it was called earlier, then that's what the Orb score is going to be based off. And then the Clip or the Nomad radios, they're going to take those raw RF measurements, and that's going to turn that and give you your signal, your MAC address, BSSID, all of the access points, nearby APs, all of that sort of metrics and data as well. So we think that that's going to be a pretty nice addition, not just from a let me check the status of the network, because again, if you're a consultant or if you're checking your own Wi-Fi environment, when you sort of go to to the area that is problematic, the first thing you're going to probably start to do is do a site survey. But if you can just look at your initial Orb score, like I said, again, your Orb score will probably immediately give you an indication as to what the issue might be. So you might be able to skip the site survey and go straight into like an AirTool Pi packet capture as an example. The other use case that we've got, and like I said, we've had a few people asking us for this, is the ability to do site surveys without without a floor plan. So now it's pretty rare that I've come across instances where you can't get some sort of a floor plan. The more common that I've sort of found is that you will go to a site and it's a subset of the floor plan that is totally different. So this is where I think that there can be quite a bit of value there. And so, you will have the ability to, upload a new floor plan, or you can just scan and survey at the same time. And so, you've got the scan ready, the Clip is connected. And then basically what it will do is it will give you a series of indications. And so again, down the bottom left of the UI, you've got your Orb score there as well as your metrics, right? And once you hit begin, you'll start to sort of scan the environment while you're also doing the site survey side of things as well. And so this is using some of the RoomKit tech that Apple's sort of got built in. And then once you're done, you'll sort of get this scan that's been done of the environment, your surveys of where you've walked, and then you can either confirm or you can discard it and rescan it as well, which is pretty nice. All right. So one of the things that Charles did allude to before is the ecosystem side of it. So at least with the Nomad and the Clip, is that it is ecosystem friendly, and Hamina in general is very ecosystem friendly. So for instance, the Nomad does integrate with the Osmium spectrum analyzers. It does also integrate with the NetAlly NXT2000 spectrum analyzer. The Nomad and the Clip hardware do also integrate with the IntuityBits AirTool application as well. And so whether it's AirTool on the Mac or whether it's AirTool Pi, which is on the iOS side of things, you can also use those, as well as Wi-Fi Explorer Pi or Wi-Fi Explorer Pro on the MacBook for just general analysis as well. So, even though you might be buying, a bit of hardware that does a lot of the heavy lifting within the Hamina on-site app, it does also work friendly with other tools as well. And I think pretty much everyone that's been beta testing the Clip has probably got some version of the IntuityBits software tools on their laptops or on their devices to some degree. So just lastly, from a pricing perspective, we are doing it like an introductory price, which basically includes 6 months of Hamina on-site, as well as the Clip hardware. We are pricing that at $990 USD, which I think probably most people in APAC will prefer over the euro because you'll get a better exchange. But if you want to pay in euro, you can do that as well. So the way that this is managing it, and there has been a few people saying like, hey, how can I purchase today? Currently not possible, but we do have a wait list. So if you do go to the Hamina website, there is a banner up the top and you can click on that and you can go into the wait list there. And so it's non-committal. We're not actually asking for any money or credit card details or anything. We are just asking for you to fill out your details and say, like how many clips do you want? And so, someone might want one, someone might want to fit out their team. They might want 5 or 10 or whatever it is. Put that in there, and then we are scheduled to start shipping in late March, with production ramping up after that. So I would encourage people that if you are sort of interested, definitely hit up the wait list and let us know. That does also allow us, particularly in Asia Pacific, with a lot of different countries, with a lot of different regulatory restrictions and policies and things like that. It does allow us to understand, what countries we should be sort of trying to, target first, so that they can be imported into the country. Otherwise, if you do want to, sort of learn more or ask maybe a question offline or do a one-to-one, and I can, sort of show you or your team through the Clip, grant@hamina.com. Otherwise, I am posting stuff on LinkedIn and things like that too, so you can scan the QR code or look me up and send an ad or an invite or whatever the case may be. All right. 3 minutes to go. Charles, Chris, or Ed, do you guys have anything else to add or anything that I might have missed?
No.
All right. Okay, cool. All right. Couple of minutes of questions then. So someone's asked, does the Clip get updated firmware via the on-site app? Yes, that is correct. Someone has asked how many internal antennas. The Clip has got 4 internal antennas. Lots of people asking about being able to replace the battery. As far as I'm aware, that will be a thing, but don't hold me to that. So it's probably something that we have a bit of a conversation about in a couple of months. I'm not sure why everyone's very, very interested with the battery side of it, but yeah, it is what it is. Maybe on the other side of it is, even if Hamina came out and said, hey, you just throw it in the bin afterwards, like the cost is so low compared to any other survey device that you just get another one. So I don't believe that is going to be the thing, but that's it. Matthew has asked a very good question. Any correlation between beard length and Wi-Fi ability? knowing Matt, he's probably serious. So I'm not sure how to answer that, but I appreciate the question. I think I'm the least. Well, I've got the beard out of everyone that's on the panel here, and I'm probably the least credentialed. So, like, maybe we'll look at it like that. Okay. All right. So Q&A. Someone has asked, are there any plans to add spectrum analysis to the clip via an external device like the Nomad does? At this point in time, the Nomad is the spectrum analysis hardware device. So, you know, I guess at least how I look at it is you've got, like, you know, you've got the iPhone Pro and then you've got the iPhone. And so, you know, for me, the iPhone Pro is the Nomad. Yeah, the clip is the, you know, is the standard model. There's advantages to both. You know, it depends what you're sort of looking for. Someone's asking if there's a best practice for walking speed, like meters per second out there. Not really, but you like just a normal walking pace is generally what I recommend for most people to do. So you're not running, you're not walking at such a pace that people are basically overtaking you in the aisles or things like that. So, you know, just walk normal. I think that's pretty standard. The biggest thing for anyone that is getting into doing Wi-Fi site surveys that I tell every single person is go and do a survey of your office or go and do a survey of your house environment, and then you can actually look at the data points. And so with Hamina, you can sort of separate like, I guess the heat map blobs out as much as you can, and you can sort of look at it there. And, you know, if they're really spaced too far apart, then you're probably walking too fast. And if they're all sort of joined together, you're probably walking at an effective pace. All right. Well, we are at the top of the hour, so I do appreciate that there are still some questions and some chat stuff coming in. I will definitely reach out to those people that have been asking those questions. But yeah, really appreciate everyone jumping on today's session. It's been really good. It's been great to hear from Charles, Chris, and Ed, and, you know, your sort of experiences. All three of them are on LinkedIn as well. So if anyone, you know, hasn't already connected with them, but, you know, wants to sort of maybe know a little bit more, or maybe know a little bit about, you know, what they do in the Wi-Fi space, because they're all professionals in their own rights, please feel free to reach out to them and say hi. They're really, really, really good guys. But yeah, thanks everyone. We'll see you on the next webinar.